Good morning. Welcome to BT's Corner. On the corner today, another rather difficult and uncomfortable subject to talk about. I'm going to talk about some symbols today. Now, before I get into the symbols, I just want you to understand that when we're dealing with things like that, the perception is the reality. In the presidential election in 2008, we had Barack Obama going up against John McCain. They had each chosen their respective running mates, and the election was held in November of 2008. In the lead up to that election, a lot of news interviews were done with the presidential candidates and with their vice presidential running mates. Now, do any of you remember back that far as 12 years ago, do you remember who said, "I can see Russia from my house"? If you answered Sarah Palin, sorry, you're wrong. Sarah Palin did not say, "I can see Russia from my house." The person who actually said that was Tina Fey doing an impression of Sarah Palin on Saturday Night Live. Sarah Palin said words to the effect that you can see Russia from Alaska, which of course is true. Across the Bering Straits, you can see Russia on a good day when the weather's correct. You can see Russia from that part of Alaska. Sarah Palin never said, "I can see Russia from my house." And yet the perception in that presidential election was, and to this day, that Sarah Palin said you could see Russia from her house. The perception became the reality, even though it wasn't true. Well, when we come to symbols, very much the same thing is true. If I were to show you a symbol, a picture of a swastika, what's the first thing that you're going to think of? The Nazi Party in Germany, World War II, Adolf Hitler? What happens with the symbol of the swastika is people associate it with its most famous incarnation, its most famous representation. But I got something to show you here. This sheet of paper here shows different sizes and representations of the swastika going back into history. There are a lot of different cultures represented on here. And yet, if I were to show you again just a picture of a swastika, especially one in a white circle on a red field, you would think that I was showing you a picture of the Nazi Party and the very symbol of evil during World War II. There are instances, the word swastika, by the way, it comes from a Sanskrit word. Sanskrit is an ancient Indian language, and the word means conducive to well-being. The swastika was present in different cultures and different religions, from Jainism to Hinduism, Buddhism. There were parts of it in Germanic and Slavic civilizations. There are even representations of the swastika and swastika-like drawings in the Book of Kells, which is Ireland's most famous treasure. And of course, it is also a representation of the Bible. So the swastika didn't always mean what we think of it meaning today, but it represents evil. It became so pervasive during and after World War II that it became permanently linked to the Nazis and to white supremacy. Well, a much more American symbol that has also become linked to white supremacy, whether you like it or not, is the Confederate flag. Now, the Confederate flag, the actual flag of the Confederacy, I'm going to show you another printout here. The actual flag of the Confederacy was not the Confederate battle flag that we are all very familiar with and which has recently been in the news again. As you all know, NASCAR recently banned the representation of the Confederate flag at any of its venues inside where they're where they're racing, or on the cars of any of their drivers, anything like that. You cannot have the Confederate battle flag. The actual flag of the Confederacy, though, is represented here. That was the first one. Here's the second one, and there's the third. You can see that what we call the battle flag is part of the second and third incarnations of the Confederate flag. But the battle flag itself, up here and then their naval jack, that's the one that we consider the Confederate flag throughout history, the last 150, 160 years. It has taken up a great deal of popular culture, and you will hear people say that it represents heritage, not hate. Okay. I know a lot of people who are very loyal to that the Confederate battle flag and its symbology. But going back to what I said earlier, the perception is the reality. And the perception is that when you see the Confederate battle flag, that it means much more a symbol of white supremacy than it does of the heritage of the former Confederate States of America. The perception is the reality. That lost cause was lost a long time ago. Now, I'm not saying we should ban the Confederate battle flag. Far from it. We should not make that symbol legal. And if you want to put it on display on your private property, brother, sister, friend, family, American, fellow American, you have that right. And again, going back to other videos I've done, this retired soldier will stand up for you and with you to defend your right to do that. I may not agree with it, but I'll defend your right to do it. That's the First Amendment. On your property, there you go. But again, the perception is the reality. When most people see the Confederate battle flag, the first thing that pops into their head is not the famous car on the Dukes of Hazzard TV show, and it's not the heritage of the Confederacy. What most people see when they see the Confederate battle flag is a symbol of white supremacy. And that's because it has been co-opted and hijacked and linked to white supremacy groups. Neo-Nazis use it. The shooter, whose name I will not mention, but the shooter a little over 5 years ago in South Carolina at the Black Church had on his jacket, when he committed his terrible crimes, the Confederate battle flag on his jacket, as well as other symbols of white supremacy and hate. That's just the way it is. The perception is the reality, and the perception is that the Confederate battle flag stands for something other than heritage. It stands for something much more sinister and much more ugly. So again, your right to display it on your property, absolutely unadulterated, and you got that, and I'll stand up for you to do it. Won't agree, because I just don't think it's the right thing to do anymore because of that very, very negative perception that we're not going to get rid of. But you have that right. But just so that you don't think I'm condemning the Confederate battle flag, I most certainly am not. And so that you don't think I'm condemning anybody who chooses to display it in an exercise of the First Amendment, I got something else. Here's another cartoon. This came up on Facebook recently. If you can read this, it's basically one protester standing on the United States flag, and somebody asking him, what the heck are you doing there? And the protester says, hey, I've got the right to do this. You have to support it. And then he brings that same person who asked the question, brings back a Confederate battle flag. All of a sudden, the protester said, oh, wait a minute, I'm offended. Well, look, you can't have it both ways. You can be offended by a symbol, and you can fight to have it not displayed in certain places. But the First Amendment applies both ways, folks. That's how it is. This is the United States of America. The First Amendment is the very embodiment of the soul of the Constitution. All right. Again, I've gone on a little longer than I wanted to, but this was an important video. Hope you had a good time coming to the corner today. We got the 4th of July weekend coming up. I hope you all have a very pleasant and safe Independence Day. And isn't it great to be living here in the United States of America? BT here from the corner signing off. We'll see you next time.